Hey folks, Wildemount here, and today we're going to create a Time Mage. Now this is going to be a Chronurgy Wizard that you can find in the official 5th edition book, The Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. So with this build, I want to use haste-like effects and to have flavor around my spells that are manipulating time either in the area or around certain characters, whether it's allies or enemies. Now, this very much reminds me of my old PlayStation 1 days when I used to play Final Fantasy Tactics, and one of my favorite characters was the Time Mage, where I could cast haste on my allies, and I always just found that fascinating. So that is kind of what I intend to do with this build. So we're going to be able to either speed up or slow down time. We're going to be able to speed up time for ourselves in order to go first in the initiative, or at least give us a very high initiative roll. And we're also going to be able to manipulate time to adjust the outcome of dice rolls, whether that's imposing disadvantage or rerolls on against our enemies, or giving advantage or rerolls to our allies. This build should be a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy it. If you'd like to see the full character sheets, those are available on my website, wildemount.com, and I will put a link in the description below. But let's get started on D&D Beyond with our level 1 wizard, and the name of my character is going to be Timex Quartz, and we'll call him Q for short. So here we are with our level 1 wizard Q. Now I did decide to go with the Harengon race, and that's going to fit very nicely with my plans to have very high initiative, and there's a few other things that work very well for a Time Mage. Not only that, but I'm kind of reminded of the Alice in Wonderland rabbit, where he carried around a pocket watch, and that will probably be Q's arcane focus, will be a pocket watch. I think that'll be really cool to play. Now, as far as ability scores are concerned, I did use Tasha's Cauldron of Everything to be able to give a +2/+1 modifier wherever I see fit. So with that being said, I did the point buy system, and we ended up with an intelligence of 17, a constitution of 15, and a dexterity of 14. Now, I do like to plan out my feats and my ability score improvements in advance, so looking ahead to levels 4 and 8, I'm probably going to pick what's called half feats, which is going to increase my intelligence and my constitution, and we'll explain that and go over that a little bit more when we reach those levels. Now I did pick the sage background, so if we combine that with our wizard skills, we get the following. We have proficiency in acrobatics, arcana, history, and investigation. And we also have proficiency in perception because that is granted to us through the Harengon race. Speaking of our Harengon race, let's take a look at that. We get an extra language, which I chose Draconic, and I also chose Celestial and Primordial as part of my background. No real relevance to time in that. Now we can choose our size, which I chose Medium, and we get an ability called Hair Trigger. You can add your proficiency bonus to your initiative rolls. And as you can see here at level 1, we already have a +4 to initiative. That's +2 from Dex and +2 from our proficiency bonus. Now, it is going to be very vital for our character to be able to go first in the initiative, and I kind of consider that as manipulating time, kind of like the Flash, where we're just kind of speeding up faster than anybody else, so we'll get to take our turn at the top of that initiative. Now, as previously mentioned, the Harengon race also gives us proficiency in perception, and then there's another ability called Lucky Footwork. When you fail a dexterity saving throw, you can use your reaction to roll a d4 and add it to the save, potentially turning the failure into a success. You can't use this reaction if you're prone or your speed is 0. So being a wizard, we have proficiency in intelligence and wisdom saving throws, so adding this ability to be able to add a d4 to our dexterity saving throws is going to be very important to us. Dexterity is a very popular saving throw, along with wisdom and constitution. And the final ability for our Harengon is called the Rabbit Hop. As a bonus action, you can jump a number of feet equal to 5 times your proficiency bonus without provoking opportunity attacks. You can use this trait only if your speed is greater than 0. You can use it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all expended uses when we finish a long rest. So as a bonus action, we can use our Rabbit Hop to move at level 1 10 feet away and not provoke an opportunity attack. That is going to be very important for us because we are going to be a squishy wizard. We're currently sitting here with armor class 12 and only 8 hit points. Now let's jump into the back end of D&D Beyond and take a look at our spells. Now we do get 3 cantrips at level 1. The first one I chose is Light because Harengons do not have dark vision, and I want to make sure that we're able to see in the dark should we lose access to torches or lanterns. The second one is Mending, and I like Mending as far as feeling a Time Mage type of a character because they repair something that is broken. Perhaps it's a frayed rope or a broken chain link, and it's almost like we're rewinding time just enough to put something back to the way it was in the past. So I like the flavor of Mending as far as being a Chronurgy Wizard. And the third one is the Ray of Frost. Now this isn't the best offensive cantrip in my opinion, but it is fairly decent, and it does have a Time Mage-like flavor. It's going to do a D8 of cold damage on a hit, and it's going to reduce the target's speed by 10 feet until the start of our next turn. It's kind of like we're slowing down time for whoever we hit with the Ray of Frost, and I really like that. Now, as a level 1 wizard, we do get to add 6 first level spells to our spellbook, but we can only prepare 4. So the first one I chose is Detect Magic. That is a nice ritual spell that we can cast if we spend 10 minutes to do so, and we don't have to have it prepared. Detect Magic is always a good one to have in our book. The next one is Jump. Now, the reason I selected Jump is because I think it would be absolutely hilarious to combine with our Rabbit Hop. So if you remember, our Rabbit Hop is a number of feet that we can jump that's equal to 5 times our proficiency bonus. So at level 1, we can jump 10 feet with our Rabbit Hop, but if we cast our jump spell, then we can jump 30 feet. And this is something we don't have to use in combat, because if we did use it in combat, it's going to take our bonus action and our action, but we are able to get away and jump that 30 feet. But I also like this for out of combat. Maybe we need to jump across a ravine, or maybe jump up somewhere, and we've got a 30-foot jump at first level. And just think, when our proficiency bonus becomes a +3, that'll be a 15-foot Rabbit Hop, and then we could triple that with our jump spell and make that a 45-foot jump. So it only gets better from there, and I find it absolutely hilarious that we can just intensify and make our Rabbit Hop that much better. Now we are going to need to burn a first level spell slot every day on Mage Armor. Again, we only have an armor class of 12, and by casting Mage Armor, it's going to last for 8 hours. It does not require concentration, and our armor class is going to be a 15. That's a base of 13, and then +2 for our dex, so 15. So Mage Armor is going to be used quite a bit, but as a wizard, we also get an ability called Arcane Recovery, and that allows us to recover spell slots when we finish a short rest. So with Arcane Recovery, you have learned to regain some of your magical energy by studying your spellbook. Once per day, when you finish a short rest, you can choose expended spell slots to recover. The spell slots can have a combined level that is equal to or less than half your wizard level rounded up, and none of the slots can be 6th level or higher. So example, when we get to 4th level, we can recover up to 2 levels with the spell slots. So that could either be 2 first level spell slots or a 2nd level spell slot. So Arcane Recovery is definitely going to be our friend, because we're going to be casting a ton of spells. A lot of them are going to be reactions, but we're also going to have to expend that first level spell slot on Mage Armor every day. Now for our offensive cantrip, I've chosen Magic Missile. So Magic Missile always hits. Now it doesn't do the most damage, but it will do consistent damage because it is not going to miss. No attack roll needed, and we get 3 darts, and we'll roll a d4, add 1, and each of those darts is going to do that amount of damage. Not only that, but that damage is force damage, and we have a range of 120 feet. Now I'm not too worried about offensive spells. We are going to be more of a buff and debuff kind of a character. We're going to be trying to put abilities on our allies, and we're going to try to restrain our enemies or our foes. So Magic Missile is going to be a good one when we need to do offense along with our Ray of Frost. So we'll do some moderate damage, but again, that's not our main focus. The next spell I chose was Shield, and this is very important for characters like this that have a very low armor class. We can use a reaction to give a +5 to our armor class. So with Mage Armor intact, we have a 15, and then we can cast Shield, and that'll give us a temporary armor class of 20. So that's an absolute must if we're about ready to get hit by some powerful attack. And then the final spell that I chose is Silvery Barbs. Now this is a very powerful spell, and I like it because it manipulates time for 2 creatures. So with Silvery Barbs, the casting time is 1 reaction, and we can take this reaction when a creature that we can see within 60 feet of us succeeds on an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw. So if someone is attacking Q, we can use our reaction and cast Silvery Barbs, and then they need to make another attack roll. And when they do that, they have to use a lower roll. Now, not only that, but now we can give advantage either to ourselves or to one of our allies. So on their next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, then they can roll with advantage. This spell is absolutely amazing, and I like being able to thematically put it into place for a Time Mage that we're manipulating time for our allies or for our enemies, kind of like a divination wizard would. We're kind of scrying into the future, if you will. That's all I have for us on level 1. Let's advance to level 2 and become a Time Mage Chronurgy Wizard. So here we are back on D&D Beyond with our Chronurgy Wizard Q. Q is now a level 2 character with armor class of 12 and 14 hit points. And I have selected the Chronurgy Wizard. So with Chronurgy magic, we get 2 abilities. The first one is Chronal Shift. You can magically exert limited control over the flow of time around a creature. As a reaction, after you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can force the creature to re-roll. You make this decision after you see whether the roll succeeds or fails, and the target must use the result of a second roll. So Chronal Shift does not give advantage or disadvantage, it's simply allowing for a reroll, and we have to take that new roll, regardless if it's beneficial for an enemy or whether it's detrimental for us or an ally. Now, I really like this thematically with our Chronurgy Wizard because it's almost like we're rewinding time just a few seconds to force a different roll. Maybe the future will be different this time, or maybe it's just doomed to repeat itself. So if an enemy is trying to hit us and they hit with an attack, we use Chronal Shift as a reaction, and hopefully that reroll they actually miss with the attack. I really dig this ability, and I think it's extremely powerful for our character, especially at 2nd level. So now our Time Mage has Chronal Shift, and let's not forget we also have Silvery Barbs. So there's several different ways already at level 2 that we can rewind time just a few seconds to possibly change the outcome of the future. I absolutely love it. Now the second ability we get as far as being a Chronurgy Mage is Temporal Awareness. You can add your intelligence modifier to your initiative rolls. This is kind of like our divine being. We're kind of like the Flash. We're speeding up a little bit, and we should be able to go first in the initiative quite often. So here you can see our initiative roll is now a +7 at level 2, and it's only going to get better from here on out. That is super cool. Now also at 2nd level, we get to add 2 more 1st level spells to our spellbook. The first one that I chose is Featherfall. We can use a reaction to choose up to 5 falling creatures within range. A falling creature's rate of descent slows to 60 feet per round until the spell ends. If the creature lands before the spell ends, it takes no falling damage and can land on its feet. So it's almost for those that are falling around us, like I am slowing down time for everyone, and we're all going to land safely on the ground. Now the second one I chose is Silent Image. This is a 1st level illusion spell where we can create an image of an object, a creature, or some other visible phenomenon that is no larger than a 15-foot cube. The image appears at a spot within range and lasts for the duration. The image is purely visual. It isn't accompanied by sound, smell, or sensory effects. So we're going to be able to use our imagination with this. And what I will probably do with Q is I will probably do a lot of 4th wall breaking. I might make an illusion of some type of an automobile or an ATM machine or something wild and crazy that's hopefully going to distract enemies or at least cause a distraction so I can get by things. Or maybe I'll bring up something from the past, maybe some type of a clock. Who knows? There's all kinds of different illusions we can make, but I really like the opportunity to add a little bit of humor to my game with the 4th wall breaking or things of that nature. Let me know in the comments below, how would you use Silent Image as far as a Time Mage and keep it on theme? That's it for level 2. Let's advance our Rabbit Folk Wizard up to level 3. So here we are back on D&D Beyond with our Harengon Chronugy Wizard Q. Now, at 3rd level, we are simply going to get a couple of 2nd level spells, but they're going to be a lot of fun, and they are going to be on theme with our Time Mage. So with our 2nd level spells, the 2 that I've chosen, the first one is Hold Person. This is a 1 action within 60 feet. Choose a humanoid that you can see within range. The target must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw or be paralyzed for the duration. At the end of each of its turns, the target can make another Wisdom saving throw, and on a success, the spell is going to end. Now, what I like about using a spell like this, which is commonly referred to as a save or suck spell, meaning that if the enemy makes their saving throw, then we basically wasted a 2nd level spell slots and the spell has no effect. But don't forget, we have our Chronal Shift and we have our Silvery Barbs, and we can use a reaction on our own turn. So if we really need to have this Hold Person take place, then perhaps we use one of those abilities or the Silvery Barbs spell in order to turn their success on the saving throw into a failure. So it's almost like we're getting to cast this twice just in case the first one doesn't succeed. Now again, we are a squishy wizard with only a 15 armor class, and that's if we have mage armor up, so I wanted to pick another defensive spell with our other 2nd level spell slot, and the one that I chose is Mirror Image. So with Mirror Image, we get 3 illusory duplicates of ourselves that appear in our space. Until the spell ends, the duplicates move with us and mimic our actions, shifting positions so it's impossible to track which image is real. We can use our action to dismiss the duplicates whenever we want. Now, each time a creature targets us with an attack during the spell's duration, we're going to roll a d20 to see if the attack targets one of our duplicates or one of our mirror images instead of us. So if we have 3, we need to roll a 6 or higher on a d20 to change the attack to one of our duplicates. If we only have 2 of our mirror images left, then we have to roll an 8 or higher, and if we only have 1 left, then it's an 11 or higher. Now, the duplicate's armor class is going to be 10 plus our dex mod, so it's going to be armor class of 12, and if an attack hits a duplicate, the duplicate is going to be destroyed. Now, the only way to destroy one of our mirror images is through an attack, because it is going to ignore all other damage and effects. And the spell is going to end when all 3 of our mirror images are destroyed. Now, the way that I would flavor this as far as being a Time Mage is concerned is I would probably have my duplicates or my mirror images be variations of me in the future or in the past. So that attack may target like teenager Q, or it could target old man rabbit Q. It's hard to say, but I like that idea of there being different versions of myself from different periods of time. That's it for us at level 3. We're going to take our first ability score improvement, which is going to be a feat at level 4. So here we are back on D&D Beyond with our Harengon Wizard Q. Now Q is a Time Mage, and we have reached level 4. So I am taking an ability score improvement / feat because I like those half feats that are going to give us an ability score plus an ability. And the one that I chose is one of my absolute favorite feats, and that is Fate Touch. So with Fate Touch, the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get a +1 to my intelligence score. So my intelligence modifier is now a +4. That's going to come in very handy in a lot of different areas, including my spell save DC, the number of spells that I can have prepared, and my initiative. So speaking of which, with that increase, our initiative is now a +8. We should be going first most of the time. And that's going to definitely be able to be the best scenario for us because we're still a squishy wizard with pretty much a 15 armor class with mage armor and only 26 hit points. Now with the Fate Touch feat, we also get the spell Misty Step. So for those of you not familiar, we can do this as a bonus action and we can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space that we can see. Now I would probably describe this spell thematically as far as a Time Mage, and we are probably speeding up time fast enough that we can just get to that position, or we're just teleported into the future like that, and we're right there with that teleport. So Misty Step does fall into the Time Mage theme. And not only that, but with our Fate Touch feat, we can cast this once per day without expending a spell slot. Of course, we can use our 2nd level spell slots for Misty Step, but it's always good to have that one in reserve in case it comes up and it is needed. Now with the Fey Touched feat, we also get to choose a spell from the Divination or Enchantment School of Magic at first level, and we can cast it once per day without expending a spell slot, or we can use our first level spell slots on it. And this one is a Dunamancy spell, which is only available to Chronergy mages and Gravity mages. So the Gift of Alacrity is as follows. Its casting time is 1 minute, and we touch a willing creature, and for the duration, the target can add a D8 to its initiative rolls. Now this is going to last for 8 hours. So if we cast this on ourselves, again, we can use that one free use, so we're not wasting any spell slots. Then when we roll for initiative, we'll roll a D20, and we're going to add 8, and then we can roll a D8 and add that result as well. So we could get some outrageous initiative scores. But I think what would be even more helpful is later levels, we're going to want to buff our allies, especially with the Haste spell. So maybe the fighter or the barbarian, we use the Gift of Alacrity on them, and then we make sure that we're one of the first in the initiative, and that fighter or barbarian's not too far behind us, allowing them to roll the D8 and allow them to get a higher initiative. So it's going to be very strategic for us in how we use it. Now we do get some additional spells, and one of those spells is going to be a cantrip. So we get our 4th cantrip at 4th level, and I've chosen Mind Sliver. You drive a disorienting spike of psychic energy into the mind of one creature that you can see within range. The target must succeed on an intelligence saving throw or take a d6 of psychic damage and then subtract a d4 from the next saving throw it makes until the end of our next turn. Now this is really nice for us because we can cast Mind Sliver on our first turn on a target, and then on our following turn, if that target did not make a saving throw before then we can cast like our hold person, and when they go to make that save, they're going to have to subtract that d4. Now we could also use this maybe to set up a fellow sorcerer, warlock, or mage. Maybe they have a spell that is hopefully going to force a saving throw, so we could do Mind Sliver on our turn and then set them up so that when that target has to make a saving throw against their spell, they're subtracting that d4. So Mind Sliver is going to be very handy for us with regards to tactical use. Now I do get 2 more 2nd level spells, and this one I want to kind of touch on a little bit. This one's called Fortune's Favor. Now this is also a Dunamancy spell. You're going to find this in Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, and the only way that you can get this spell is by being a Gravity Wizard or a Chronurgy Wizard. Now this requires a consumable material component, so you are going to need a pearl that's worth at least 100 gold pieces. So it's going to cost you 100 gold pieces every time you want to cast a spell. So it's not something that I would probably have prepared all the time, but if I need it and I have plenty of pearls, then I probably would. Now we cast this, it's going to take a casting time of 1 minute, so we can't do it in combat. It's going to have a duration of 1 hour. And the way that it is you impart latent luck to yourself or one willing creature that you can see within range. When the chosen creature makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw before the spell ends, it can dismiss the spell on itself to roll an additional d20 and choose which of the d20s to use. Alternatively, when an attack roll is made against the chosen creature, it can dismiss the spell on itself to roll a d20 and choose which of the d20s to use. So it's almost like having a lucky point. If you're familiar with the lucky feat, it's going to give advantage or disadvantage. And Fortune's Favor is really playing into that rewinding time just a few seconds to possibly change the outcome of the future. And I really like this because it fits right in with our Chronal Shift ability, with our Silvery Barb spell, and now we have Fortune's Favor. So we're manipulating time for either an ally or an enemy with regards to making rerolls on our d20s. But again, that spell's going to require a pearl, so we're not going to be able to use it all the time, but we're going to be on the lookout for pearls. Now, the other 2nd level spell that I chose is an offensive spell, because we don't have a lot of offensive abilities yet, but I thought this one would be fun. I've never used this before, but let's check it out. This is called Wither and Bloom. You invoke both death and life upon a 10-foot radius sphere centered on a point within range. Now, each creature of our choice in the area must make a Constitution saving throw, taking 2d6 necrotic damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. Non-magical vegetation in that area withers. Now I'm going to thematically include that as our Time Mage, as perhaps that area there, time is sped up so fast that it caused the dying or withering of non-magical vegetation, and maybe the same with regards to the damage. Now, in addition to this, one creature of our choice in that area can spend and roll one of its unspent hit dice and regain a number of hit points equal to the roll plus our spellcasting modifier. Now, it doesn't say specifically, and I'm pretty sure that we can do this. Let me know in the comments below whether this is correct or not with regards to rules. But if we have our barbarian in an area and they're down at 0 hit points, I believe that we can cast Wither and Bloom and allow them to roll one of their hit dice and come back up to whatever it is that they rolled, and plus our +4 for an intelligence modifier. Let me know in the comments below if that's correct or not. But I believe it is. And with a wizard, even if it's just rolling hit dice, it's still a healing type of a spell, and that's something you don't see with wizards very often. And again, as far as the Time Mage is concerned, I'm kind of like rewinding time or speeding up time with regards to my necrotic damage and with regards to healing. So this would be a lot of fun. It's not one of the best offensive second level spells, but it should be pretty suitable for Q. That's all I have for us at level 4. Let's advance Q up to level 5 and get that long-awaited Haste spell. So here we are back on D&D Beyond with our level 5 Harengon Wizard Q. Now at level 5, our proficiency bonus goes up to a +3, and that's going to affect our saving throws and our skill checks, and it's also going to affect our initiative. So we now have a +9 to initiative. Now with regards to our attacks, we have the Ray of Frost, and at 5th level, we now have a 2d8 when we hit with our Ray of Frost, and that has a +7 to hit. Now we do get 2 3rd level spells at 5th level, and of course the first one that I chose was Haste. We're going to speed up time, and this is the heart and soul of our character build of our Time Mage. So the way that Haste works is we choose a willing creature that we can see within range, and until the spell ends, the target's speed is doubled. It gains a +2 bonus to armor class, it has advantage on dexterity saving throws, and it gains an additional action on each of its turn so that it can attack, dash, disengage, hide, or what have you. Now when this spell ends, the target can't move or take actions until after its next turn, as a wave of lethargy sweeps over it. So again, Q is going to be a character that is in a support role that is there to buff or debuff allies or enemies and to try to control the battlefield. So with Haste, we're going to target our fighter, our barbarian, one of our frontline allies that are in combat, and we're going to give them all of these extra abilities. But with that being said, it's going to be very important for us to hold our concentration, because if we lose concentration and Haste goes away on that character, then they're pretty much going to have to skip a turn. So we're going to need to stay back out of the way or out of combat to ensure that we can maintain our concentration. So with that in mind, the other 3rd level spell that I chose is Blink. So with Blink, it's one action, it's going to last for 1 minute, and it does not require concentration. And the way that Blink works is we roll a d20 at the end of each of our turns for the duration of the spell. Now on a roll of 11 or higher, we're going to vanish from the current plane of existence and appear in the ethereal plane. At the start of your next turn, and when the spell ends, if you are on the ethereal plane, you return to an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see within 10 feet of the space that you vanished from. If no unoccupied space is available within the range, then you appear in the nearest unoccupied space chosen at random, and we can dismiss this spell as an action when we want to do so. So with Blink, again, it doesn't require concentration, but if we're concentrating on a spell such as Haste, we can maintain that concentration even when we are in the ethereal plane. So anything that would break our concentration, let's say we're getting attacked or hit with like a fireball or take some type of damage, we're not going to take that damage or be attacked if we're in the ethereal plane. So there's no threat to our concentration there. So I like using these spells in conjunction. Blink with a concentration spell such as Haste or Hold Person, I think is going to be very beneficial for us, and it's definitely going to help our party. Of course, this can also be thematic, so instead of going to the ethereal plane, maybe after our turn, we are just jumping into the future and we appear within 10 feet of where we once were. I really like that idea, and I think it would be fine to do so as long as there's nothing that would have or involve the ethereal plane. So that's all I have for us at level 5. Let's get a few more spells and jump into level 6. So here we are back on D&D Beyond with our level 6 wizard Q. Now, as a 6th level Chronurgy Wizard, we get our next ability, and that is Momentary Stasis. As an action, you can magically force a large or smaller creature that you can see within 60 feet of you to make a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC, which I believe at this level is a 15. Now, unless this saving throw is a success, the creature is encased in a field of magical energy until the end of your next turn or until the creature takes any damage. While encased this way, the creature is incapacitated and has a speed of 0. And just as a reminder, the incapacitated means that they can't take actions or reactions. So this is a pretty unique feature that can either remove someone for combat, or maybe it is someone that is in melee combat with us, and if they fail that save, it will make it so that they're frozen in time and we can get away from them safely if we've expended all uses of our rabbit hop. So I really like Momentary Stasis, and I think it could be quite beneficial in combat, and I could even see some fun role-playing moments with this as well. Now we do get to add 2 additional 3rd level spells, and the 2 that I've chosen are both time related. The first one is Slow. You alter time around up to 6 creatures of your choice in a 40-foot cube within range. Each target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be affected by the spell for the duration. So this is going to be kind of the opposite of Haste, and it can affect up to 6 different creatures. Now an affected target's speed is halved, it gets a -2 penalty to armor class and dexterity saving throws, and it can't use reactions. Now on its turn, it can use either an action or a bonus action, but not both. Regardless of the creature's abilities or magic items, it can't make more than 1 melee or ranged attack during its turn. Now if the creature attempts to cast a spell with a casting time of 1 action, it needs to roll a d20, and on 11 or higher, it's not going to take effect until that creature's next turn, and then it's going to use that action on that turn. So this is a very strong debuff spell, especially if we're going to have a lot of enemies. And again, just as a reminder that we have our reaction available on our turn. So if we want to use our Silvery Barbs or our Chronal Shift to make sure that that creature, or at least one of them that we target with Slow, has to make a reroll and maybe hopefully fail that time, that we can do so. So Slow is going to be an extremely powerful spell against a lot of enemies. And then the other 3rd level spell that I'm adding to my arsenal is another reaction spell, and this is Counterspell. With Counterspell, we can pretty much, as a reaction, negate any spell that's being cast against us if it is 3rd level or lower, and if it's 4th level or higher, then we have a DC and we can roll and still try to counter that spell. I kind of see this as a Time Mage is just rewinding the clock back just a few seconds to interrupt that spell as it was being cast. Now, as far as our 3rd level spells are concerned, we have Haste, Slow, Counterspell, and Blink. Those are probably our most powerful spells as a Chronurgy Wizard, and it's the heart and soul of our spellbook. So that's going to do it for us at level 6. Let's advance this next levels up for 7 and 8. We're going to combine them, get an ability score improvement, and 4 new 4th level spells. So here we are back on D&D Beyond with our Harengon Wizard. Now I am combining levels 7 and 8. At level 7 we get to add 2 4th level spells. At level 8 we get a feat plus 2 more 4th level spells. So I thought I would consolidate them. So let's start with our feat first, and the one that I have chosen is Resilient. And with Resilient we get to improve an ability score by 1, and that is going to be Constitution. And then we're also going to gain proficiency in saving throws with that chosen ability. So we now have proficiency in Constitution saving throws. We have a Constitution of 16, and that is going to retroactively increase our hit points. So now we have 58 hit points. So for a squishy wizard, we become a little less squishy. And not only that, but we have a lot of concentration spells. So being proficient with Constitution saves is going to make sure that we maintain our concentration. I think this is an extremely good feat. I even considered getting it at level 4, but I wanted to get my intelligence up higher. Now, if you're going to be creating a character and you are rolling for your ability scores instead of point buy, then you might want to invest in Resilient at that level 4 level. Now, in no particular order, let's take a look at the spells. I thought I would get another offensive spell with my 4th level slot, so I chose Blight. Necromantic energy washes over a creature of your choice that you can see within range, draining moisture and vitality from it. And if you want to go kind of a time theme, then we're just going to say maybe it ages it that much more. It's kind of like our Wither and Bloom. The target must make a Constitution saving throw, and it's going to take 8d8 necrotic damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. And if that target is a plant creature or a magical plant, then they're going to have disadvantage on that saving throw, and the spell is going to deal maximum damage. So 8 times 8, 64 points, or 32 on a successful saving throw. A very good spell for us that's going to target one thing. The next one that I chose, and this again is on theme for our Time Mage, is Divination. So with Divination, our magic and an offering put you in contact with a god or god servants. You ask a single question concerning a specific goal, an event, or activity to occur within 7 days. The GM offers a truthful reply. The reply must be a short phrase, a cryptic rhyme, or an omen. So I kind of like this more, not so much on the god or the god servants part, but as far as maybe seeing into the future. So instead of having it a god, or maybe they come to us in a dream, maybe the DM or the GM just allows us maybe to teleport into the future. That would be kind of cool, where we kind of maybe witness this little event or something like that. So very on theme for our characters, and it can be cast as a ritual spell, so that will require 10 minutes, and I think this is really cool and right where we want to be with our Chronurgy Wizard. The next 4th level spell that I chose was Greater Invisibility. Now, we don't have to put this on us. We can put it on our Barbarian, our Fighter, or what have you. That's going to be up in melee combat, and they can attack and cast spells with Greater Invisibility. You or a creature you touch becomes invisible until the spell ends. Anything the target is wearing or carrying is invisible as long as it's on the target's person. So unlike the 2nd level spell Invisibility, where you would become visible if you do an attack, Greater Invisibility, as long as we hold concentration, you're going to be invisible for up to 1 minute. So a very good spell to help our friends. And this next one is not going to be time related, but it is a possible save or suck type of a spell. And since we have those abilities to force rerolls with our Chronal Shift or our Silvery Barbs, I think Polymorph would be a lot of fun. So it's just to kind of summarize it for you, we can turn one of our allies into a big creature, perhaps like a dinosaur or something like that, or we can force an opponent or a foe to make a saving throw, and if they fail, we can turn them into a small canary or maybe a bug or something along those lines. And again, if we target them and they make the saving throw, then the spell's not going to have any effect, but we can use our reaction to force that reroll with our Time Mage abilities, and that's the sweet spot for a spell like Polymorph. That's all I have for levels 7 and 8. Let's keep this combination going, and we're going to advance our character to level 9 and get that next Chronugy magic feature at level 10. So here we are with Q as a level 10 Chronugy Wizard. Now I have combined levels 9 and 10, and I have chosen 4 5th level spells that we'll go over in just a second, but let's take a look at a few other things that have changed, because our proficiency bonus is now a +4, so that's going to give us a +10 to initiative. And if you remember, we still have that one free use of Gift of Alacrity that lasts for up to 8 hours, so technically we could roll a d20 for our initiative. We'll add 10 to whatever that result is and add an additional d8. So the total that we could get for initiative, if we max out on everything, is a 38. That's absolutely insane. But again, for this character build, we want to go first. We want to be high in the initiative because we are going to either buff our allies or debuff our enemies, and we're going to have spells that require concentrations. Not only that, but we got to get to a safe place and set up our defenses. So this is going to be very vital for us as far as our rabbit goes, is to be able to go first in turn order. Now, as a 10th level Chronugy magic wizard, we get our next ability, which is Arcane Abeyance. When you cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th level or lower, you can condense the spell's magic into a mote. The spell is frozen in time at the moment of casting and held with a gray bead within a gray bead for 1 hour. This bead is a tiny object with armor class 15 and 1 hit point, and it is immune to poison and psychic damage. When the duration ends, or if the bead is destroyed, it vanishes in a flash of light and the spell is lost. Now, a creature holding the bead can use its action to release the spell within, whereupon the bead disappears. The spell uses your spell attack bonus and save DC, and the spell treats the creature who released it as the caster for all other purposes. Once you create a bead with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. So Arcane Abeyance is a fantastic ability. Now, I know that there are a few ways to break this spell that are out there. I believe Treant Monk has a few videos on his channel talking about the Chronurgy Mage and the Arcane Abeyance ability, and it involves Leomund's tiny hut and casting it as an action with that little gray bead in order to provide some combat advantage. Now, I won't be discussing that today, but if you want to check out his videos on that, then I would definitely encourage you to do so. For me, I would probably use this for like greater invisibility and for haste, and then I would pass this off to one of my friends or allies, and then they would have to have concentration on that spell. So I could have concentration on my own invisibility or haste, and then whoever is using that gray bead of the Arcane Abeyance can have concentration on their spell that I have provided for them. Let me know in the comment section below how you would use Arcane Abeyance if you were playing this character. Now, with regards to the 5th level spells that I chose at levels 9 and 10, I think you could choose them in any order. That's totally up to you, but I think all of them would be fun for what we got going on with Q, our Time Mage. So the first one we're going to take a look at is Hold Monster. This is a 5th level enchantment spell. Choose a creature that you can see within range. The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be paralyzed for the duration. This spell has no effect on the undead. At the end of each of its turns, the target can make another wisdom saving throw, and on a success, the spell ends. Now, one of the cool things about these hold spells, hold person, hold monsters, is that even if they're hit by combat or take damage, they are still paralyzed until the end of the duration or until they succeed on that save. So trying to get a spell such as Hold Monster to stick would definitely be a good time to use our reaction for like our Silvery Barbs to ensure that they fail. Again, a save or suck type of a spell, but with our ability to force rerolls, this could come in quite handy for us. The next spell that I chose is Synaptic Static. This is also a 5th level enchantment spell. You choose a point within range and cause psychic energy to explode there. Each creature in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on that point must make an intelligence saving throw, and any creature with intelligence score of 2 or less cannot be affected by this spell. Now, that target's going to take 8d6 psychic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. Now, after a failed save, a target has muddled thoughts for 1 minute. During that time, it rolls a d6 and subtracts the number rolled from all attack rolls and ability checks, as well as its constitution saving throws to maintain concentration. Now, the target can make an intelligence saving throw at the end of each of its turns and in this effect on its success. So with my 5th level spells, I chose Hold Monster, and it requires concentration. So I combed the rest of the list of 5th level spells, and my other 3 that I chose don't require concentration because I have so many spells I have to concentrate on. I want a few so I can be concentrating on haste, and then my next turn I can cast a spell such as Synaptic Static. So the other 2 are going to be the same. They're not going to require concentration. But again, that just makes a shorter list for us to choose from when we're picking our spells. Now, this next one casts 1 minute, and it is Teleportation Circle. So just to summarize, we have to have a destination teleportation circle in place. Now, some churches and government buildings and things like that, maybe a wizard's tower, might already have these circles for us to teleport to. If we want to create our own destination circle where this will take us to, like maybe our own castle or home or something like that, it's going to take 1 year to do so, and we've got to cast this spell every day for a year. So that is going to be something you'll need to set up in advance, but once it is, it's pretty much taking you to a safe place. So if we're in trouble, we're deep in a dungeon or what have you, in a place that we can't get out, we can spend 1 minute, we can cast Teleportation Circle, and then we can get everyone to safety. So this is one that would be interesting. I haven't really played a lot at higher levels, so if you have any experience with Teleportation Circle, let me know in the comments below. It seems like it would be a great way to save our party's ass if they got in trouble for sure. Now the final 5th level spell that I took is Temporal Shunt. This is a 5th level transmutation spell and another spell that requires our reaction, and it's taken when a creature we can see makes an attack roll or starts to cast a spell. You target the triggering creature, which must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or vanish, being thrown to another point in time and causing the attack to miss or the spell to be wasted. At the start of its next turn, the target reappears where it was, or in the closest unoccupied space. The target doesn't remember you casting the spell or being affected by it. So this is like a super juiced counter spell that we could also use against an attack roll. So a very good spell to use, Temporal Shunt. Another one that's going to save our hide if we needed to. It doesn't require concentration. It uses our reaction, so we can cast it when we need to. But I think it's a great way to round out our Time Mage because it is also time-based, teleporting a creature into the future where their spell or their attack isn't going to work. So level 10 is where I'm going to stop creating this character. And if you'd like to see this character sheet for level 10, I'll put it on my website. Again, you can find the link below at wallydm.com. But I do want to talk about the 14th level feature of the Chronurgy magic or the Chronugy Mage, and that is Convergent Future. So at 14th level, we can peer through possible futures and magically pull one of them into events around you, ensuring a particular outcome. When you or a creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can use a reaction to ignore the die roll and decide whether the number rolled is the minimum needed to succeed or one less than that number, our choice. So we are pretty much having a legendary action here where we can change time, we can predict the future, and we can make someone auto succeed or auto fail. Now when we use this feature, we gain 1 level of exhaustion, and only by finishing a long rest can we remove the level of exhaustion that we gained in this way. So if we are being hit by a disintegration spell, or that one attack is about ready to just smash us or somebody else in the face and obliterate us, then being able to make that attack fail or succeed, or that saving throw fail or succeed, is going to be vital and definitely worth that 1 level of exhaustion. A fantastic, very powerful ability for our Chronurgy Mage at 14th level. So that is my Harengon Chronurgy Wizard Timex Quartz, or Q. What do you think of this build? What do you think of the Time Mage altogether? And what are some of the things that you would change if you were doing this build? In particular, what feats would you take at level 4 and level 8? And what spells do you think that I missed that have a time theme to them that should have been included in this character build? And just a reminder that this build is going to work very well off of our reactions and our rerolls. So we did pick a lot of spells that are kind of a save or suck, but it's okay because we're going to be able to force rerolls on those if our target succeeds, and hopefully get another chance for our spell to go off. So I'm very interested in seeing what you think about this character build, so leave a comment down below and let me know what character build you would like to see next. And again, you can find the 10th level character sheet for this on my website, wallydm.com. I'll put a link in the description below. That's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching, and on to the next.